Well, I had maybe 12 really good friends in elementary school in 5th grade. Go over to their houses like every single day. I'd play with them and I'd go home late. And when we went to middle school, they all just dropped me. I'd go sit with them, they'd get up and walk away.
My voice cries in the wilderness. I search to end the emptiness. Where it will lead, no one can guess.
That was just really hard for me. Just not to know why they won't talk to me anymore, like my best friends. I wouldn't go to school sometimes. I would stay home and just cry over and over. I'd just think of what those kids had done to me. Not physically, just emotionally.
You're such a loser. Just look at you. Look how you dress. Your shoes look like you got them from Kmart for like $2 or something.
Heck, I got a good deal on that. Why is that?
And look at your watch. Everyone else has Fossil watches, but you got this little loser watch. And your ears, they're just like huge.
All the better to hear you with.
All right, nice job, you guys. Okay. So I know that that's a really tough social situation sometimes in the cafeterias. People have certain tables they sit at, correct?
Yes.
Does anybody have an example?
Well, there's always a situation where a kid will say like a group of people, and then the group will just leave the table entirely and go get another table.
Okay.
And that happens like a couple times a week, and it happens to the same kid over and over again, no matter where he sits.
I think you have to be more flexible and everything, and just like if someone sits at your table that you don't want them to, the big deal, let them eat and just not really care as much and just let things happen. It really doesn't matter that much.
Okay.
People are like, I was saying that they let people like be in their group, and not bully them or anything. This is bullshit how they just start saying stuff that they didn't mean. That isn't true.
What isn't true?
How they'd be nice to people and let them sit with them.
I just can't concentrate anymore when stuff like this happens.
We got a call from the school nurse saying Christian had come into her and said he had just started crying without any reason in science class, and he was embarrassed. He didn't want to stay there because he didn't want other kids to see him crying. And she said, well, you know, Mrs. Levy, this really looks a lot like depression.
I couldn't find any friends. I wouldn't trust anyone. I was doing bad in school. I thought my parents couldn't do anything about it. I didn't know what was wrong with me. I just felt so lonely. I felt surrounded by people and they just won't talk to you. They're just unmindful of your presence.
It became very difficult to get him to go to school and very difficult to get him to go to soccer practice because some of the kids, a couple of the kids were on his soccer team, and he would lock himself in the bathroom screaming that he wasn't going to go to soccer practice.
All of a sudden, my 12-year-old is depressed. It kind of hit like a ton of bricks that something was going on and that he was very unhappy. I said, this kid needs professional help. Sandy didn't say it initially. That was a very radical step.
The first time I went to the psychiatrist, I didn't think it was going to do anything.
Keep it up, Chris.
My parents were there in the session, so I didn't want to talk about anything personal or anything. And then I filled out a questionnaire there.
Each question has 3 answers. The 3 answers are basically 3 levels of emotional state. And a lot of them are somewhat innocuous. But then comes the question, do you ever think about hurting yourself? Well, I at least held my breath, thinking, oh my gosh, did he really ever think about hurting himself?
I wish you would step back from that ledge, my friend. You could cut ties with all the lies that you've been living in.
Sometimes I wanted to end my life. When I thought about it, first I thought about how I was gonna do it. And then second thing I thought about was why.
Everyone I know has got a reason.
All the kids who just ignored me and stopped being my friends, and they pretty much ruined my life. And then the third thing I thought about was what my family would do, what they would like do without me. How would they feel?
Good job. Good job.
Well, carry my bag for me. Thank you.
Okay.
I never dreamt that he felt like that, ever. And I thought of all the times that I laid in bed with him at night and snuggled him before he went to sleep and told him how much I loved him and hugged him. And I thought, when I heard about the questionnaire answers, I thought, well, wasn't that enough? He must know how much we love him. But I mean, that was elementary. I should have known. I mean, that had nothing to do with it. He knows we love him.
There's nothing you can do for the pain. You can't go to school with him every day and hold his hand and tell those kids to stop it.
I think Sandy mentioned to the doctor, she said, you know, well, Ed is on antidepressants. And he said, well, the acorn doesn't fall far from the tree usually. What did I do wrong is what I thought immediately. I thought, what did I give him, you know, from my childhood? When I was Christian's age, I tried suicide 3 times. I was severely depressed. I didn't feel there was anyone in the world that understood me, that understood what I felt like, that understood what I was going through. And I was all alone. And I don't feel that Christian feels like that. He's not alone.
My dad's been an easy person to be around, and he understands me, but I haven't been able to open up to him, really. I don't plan to for a while.
Don't you want to talk to us about the game?
I guess his childhood was really harsh, and I think he's going to be really depressed if he starts thinking about that. And then that'll make him, like, harder to be able to understand me.
12 years ago, I was a terrible father. When I came home from work, I was a jerk. I was verbally abusive. I didn't have to explain to Christian what the medication did. Christian lived what it did because he was able to see a tremendous difference in me, not a little difference, and so did Sandy.
It's not something to be afraid of. It's not going to change your child's personality. I think that's what every parent's fear is.
Medication has helped a lot. I don't start crying in class anymore. I don't even think about suicide. And then I guess that gave me the courage to find new friends.
Stop talking about it, God!
What we've come to realize is that there are a lot more important things than good grades. Where Christian's concerned, we recognize that school in itself is a difficult place for Christian to be.
Is that the problem, that you weren't there for it? So
Yeah.
your partner kind of went ahead and did his part, and
Well,
when
he
you
did
came...
all of it.
Okay.
He has a
when you came with
teacher
your part, he was-
that is real
when you
helpful
work with a
in
partner,
making his
is
other
that optional?
teachers understand the pressures that he's under.
You don't really know...
One of the things I am grateful for is I've seen an awful lot of growth in him. At a pretty young age, Christian is probably more self-aware than a lot of 12-year-olds. And what a valuable gift that is.
It's this process that we all have to go through, unfortunately. But I wish my son didn't have to go through it. I would rather, if I could just take it on myself and let me go through it for him, and then give him his heart back and say, all right, I've done it. You're going to be all right now.
44, Christian.
I'm willing to talk about depression and what I've gone through to help people get through what I went through and how to deal with it. I don't know if I'm gonna be depressed for my whole life. I definitely hope not, but just from having depression when you're a child, you'll be changed forever. And you'll want to be different. You'll want to be caring. You'll never want to make fun of anyone again. Never want to discourage anyone. And that, if everyone did that, it'd be like perfect world. But there's always going to be someone who makes fun of you or makes fun of someone else. And there's always going to be someone who stands up for them. And I'm one of those people now.